The New York Sirens hockey team is enjoying its second year in the Professional Women's Hockey League and its first year at Prudential Center. Joining me now is our very own Avery Mendillo, who covers hockey for ONNJ Sports and even has her own show, Put the Game On. Great name for a show. Avery, welcome to this show. Great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Very excited to be here.
Our pleasure. So before we talk about the Sirens, let's talk about your background in hockey, how you developed a passion for the sport, and then your connection to the New York Sirens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I think hockey's been a really essential and vital part of my life for as long as I can really remember. I fell in love with the sport from a really, really young age, from running around countless rinks and watching my brother play through his grade school days and watching the Bruins play religiously on weeknights with all three members of my family. It's been a really, really vital part of my life. So I never played super competitively. I was always just one in attendance at my brother's games or at my high school boys and girls games, just solely because I really like to watch the sport and because I liked being at the rink and I loved the hockey culture and the environment. So, but I think as women's hockey has really gained some traction and momentum, especially with the start and the official launch of the PWHL last year, my love for the game has really grown so much more than I ever could have imagined possible. So my platform, Put the Game On, came into fruition just about a year ago, which is crazy, after I attended the annual Women in Sports panel at EBS Arena. And that's moderated by Shannon Hogan, somebody who I've been really watching and she's been a role model for me since as long as I can remember. But from there I was just super inspired to not only bring more visibility to the PWHL, but create a space for fans to really learn and grow with the league, like they're right there on the bench with their favorite athletes. So my mantra is we're all in this together, and I believe that fans and athletes alike, we can grow the PWHL exponentially. So the New York Sirens have kind of just been naturally a focus for me since they are my local market. And beginning Put the Game On, I would always attend the games and see what New York has to offer, but also because of how much heart and talent that these women play with on the ice, but also just as humans. They're an incredible, great group of women. So covering them just as part of my game day routine has been an incredibly eye-opening experience, and it's just been really exciting to share their journey with fans and my viewers. So yeah.
Let's talk about some of those players, and we'll start with Alexi Guay, I hope I'm saying that right, who was recently acquired as a reserve player by the Sirens. What can she bring to the team down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a great question. I think Alexi's going to be a really, really strong addition for New York on their reserve player list. So, just getting to know her background and what she brings to the table as a defender. She, brings a lot of poise and a lot of skill to the blue line. And I really think her puck movement is going to be an asset for this team. I think she's recorded somewhere around 4 goals and 8 assists with Moto, which is amazing. So I think it's a really smart pickup for the New York Sirens, as they're trying to build this well-rounded, very competitive roster. But New York's GM Pascal Daoust also mentioned that, coming out of her Clarkson University run and having the opportunity to play alongside some other of her teammates that are also on the New York Sirens team that have also come out of Clarkson University. I think Alexi has just, really been maximizing her development and taking on significant responsibilities in her first pro year in Sweden, which is really, really cool. So I think the Sirens now have the opportunity to just work with her and assess her progress and help her continue her development as a member of the team. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of impact Alexi makes.
And I also want to talk about a couple of players who kind of been the standouts this year. One is Sarah Fillier, who was acquired in the offseason. I remember how big of a deal that was. The other is Jessica Eldridge. What has their presence and talent meant for the team in their second season?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I say this all the time. I really think Sarah Fillier and Jessie Eldridge are 2 of my absolute favorite players to watch in this league. I mean, this league is just filled with such incredible talent, but they're such standouts just because, they're absolutely critical to the Sirens' success. They play so dynamically that your eyes are really just drawn to them every shift that they take. So, I think when you're looking at Sarah Fillier, who's been just an absolute, bombshell rookie, she's just awesome. She's been so consistent in her game and in the way that she plays from start to finish. And, she just fits in really well with this New York team as well in its totality. So I think we've seen the pretty goals and we've seen the empty netters, which is just one example, of the ways that she's capable of really executing to support her team goals wise. But, she's now on a 5-game goal streak after last night's takeover tour win in Detroit. And she leads the league in in points with a total of 25, which is awesome because she's 1 point in front of Boston's captain, Hillary Knight of the Boston Fleet. So, and Knight has been on fire this month. So safe to say she's on track to becoming Rookie of the Year, a really, dependent player for the New York Sirens to look to where leadership is concerned, where, getting the team going is concerned. So she's definitely a fun watch. But, Jessie Eldridge is also a total force on the ice for the Sirens. I mean, again, she's one of my favorite players to watch. I mean, I can never really take my eyes off of her on the ice. She brings leadership. She brings physicality. She's got a knack for stepping up where it really counts in these big games. She's got 8 goals this season and really plays with just a lot of passion, and you can really see it in the energy that she brings from game to game, from what she brings to the table. So I've been lucky enough to be able to sit in on some press conferences as well for the New York Sirens. And Jessie, she's got this way of staying really optimistic about the group. And even after a 9-game losing streak, which is the longest in the league, unfortunately, I mean, it really is clear from Jessie's perspective that she's confident in her team and, what they have, to offer the league. So she's a really great asset to the team. I think if New York is looking to get back into this playoff picture, it's going to be really heavily led by players like these two to just keep making an impact game after game. And I think overall, both these athletes are just really versatile. So, always finding a way to be difference makers in the important moments for sure.
And speaking of leaders, head coach Greg Fargo is in his first year with the team. I know you got to speak with him back in September. Talk about the job he's done this year and the relationship he has with the players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Coach Fargo, I had just the opportunity and the absolute pleasure of getting to know more about him as a person and as a coach last September. So, I think what really truly stood out to me about the conversation that I had with him was the way that he really just truly cares about the league and its success, which is something that is very important, especially with a league growing as quickly as it is. So when I interviewed him back in September, I was still a beginner to the PWHL and the New York Sirens. I, as much as I knew about hockey, I didn't really know a lot about the PWHL or what the New York Sirens were even really about. So the logo and the brand identity had just come out, and I was just super eager to get to know more about who he was as a coach and also as an advocate for women's hockey, because I think that's just so important right now. But he did mention that he does have 2 daughters, and that it's really meaningful to share this journey with his kids and his family as they start to figure out, what their passions in life are. They're getting to the age where, they're figuring out what their goals in life are, what they're interested in, what they're drawn to as young girls. So it's really special. And, he said that getting to look down at a bench of women that have done so much for the sport of hockey is just really, really beautiful and inspiring. So he also really leaned into, his women's college coaching days, and that really stemmed from building strong relationships with the athletes and their families over the years. And I think that was something that he really wanted to just make sure that was something that was on his mind. And Jessie Eldridge and Jamie Bourbonnais are 2 players that, coached over the years at Colgate and with Team Canada. So he said, getting to reunite with them on a professional basis is really quite special. So I can imagine, what going from the youth and the college days to getting to be a women's pro team. I mean, that shift is probably just so amazing. But, I gathered from my conversation at the end of the day that he's someone that just really focuses it on fostering a really just strong environment where everybody wants to come to work and everybody wants to show up as their best self every day, at every practice, every game, and everyone's after the same goal at the end of the day, and that's to lift that Walter Cup. So, even when they faced some pretty tough challenges and adversity, obviously this 9-game losing streak was pretty tough. I think there's a sense of resilience and also belief within his team, and I think that a lot of that comes from Fargo's leadership and just the trust that he's built with his former and new players. So it was an all-around really amazing, exciting conversation. He's a really great guy, and watching him coach this team throughout season 2, from getting to chat with him in September to now, has been really, really awesome.
Now, how much has the team's identity, the new identity, the New York Sirens, helped with recognition? Because remember last year, they were just Team New York, and that kind of reminds me of the Mighty Ducks movie when the team started out as just District 5, and then things started to come together after they got the Ducks name. Do you feel that's happening for teams in the PWHL?
That's such a great comparison. That, I wouldn't have even That wouldn't have even crossed my mind. That is such a great way to put it, honestly. But yeah, I mean, I think the New York Sirens identity just as a whole has been so huge. And I think it really is just a powerful homage to New York and the city culture and being the Sirens, having that distinct branding and connection to the New York City has made it easier for fans to really rally behind them. I think is a huge, huge thing. They're proud to represent their team. They're proud to wear that turquoise jersey. It gives them a really strong local identity that resonates with the city sports culture is huge. So, the name, the Sirens logo, the colors, the full volume hockey, that's, kind of the slogan here for the New York Sirens. It all feels super bold and empowering. And I think it's really just helped position them as a team that New Yorkers and hockey fans alike can really get behind. I mean, there's always a huge line for merch at the Rock every time I pass the merch, table at the Rock between periods. And, I honestly, whenever the hype video is really, I mean, the brand, it feels just so awesome because it gives fans something to speak to and represent proudly and loudly, no pun intended. But it's just been, excuse me, it's been a really fun experience getting to know the Sirens and getting to know the fan base and just the strong environment that it's really produced. I think the Sirens identity has been a huge, huge impact into the team's, totality. So.
And I get that they're at the bottom of the standings, but when you go to Prudential Center for a Sirens game, how exciting is the atmosphere and how important is it for them to be playing at a venue of that caliber where the Devils play?
Yeah. Hey, I mean, a lot of hockey to play, only in sixth place. There's tons of points to rack up. There's tons of, I wouldn't say there's tons of time, but, there's points on the table and anything can happen. It's any team's playoff. So, I mean, the atmosphere at the Prudential Center is pretty great. I think the first thought that people might have is that, well, they're the New York team, but they play in New Jersey. How does that really work? I think it's just, it's the way that it kind of unraveled. I think the Sirens have definitely built a strong community and a fan base. So I'm not really sure I think the Rock does a really great job of being that home base for them. Right. So I think from fans sharing friendship bracelets to the athletes interacting with the fans during warmups, the identity of New York and the New York Sirens is totally tangible at the Rock. They've coined that wee woo term that fans chant during the game, wee woo replicating a siren, during goals, it's just an atmosphere that's made a real big impact on a lot of people. So, I mean, it's a comfortable environment as well where anyone and everyone, I mean, seriously, everybody is not only welcomed, but also celebrated, which I think is it's just such a different part of going to PWHL games versus NHL game. I think you're welcome and it's celebrated and everyone can get involved in the action. It's just one of those places that you can go and if you don't really know much about the sport, if you don't really know much about the team, like it's a very inclusive place that you can feel welcomed and also encouraged and supported. So yeah, it's a great atmosphere for sure.
And Avery, final question. The Professional Women's Hockey League is in its second season. Do you feel the league has grown since its first year?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I love this question because I mean, yeah, we are only in a year and a half of the league, but I think the momentum for the PWHL from week to week and game to game is just absolutely tangible is my word of the day. And, there's really no denying that there's a huge PWHL audience and a fan base that's just absolutely dying to cheer on women's hockey. I mean, the league just welcomed their millionth fan last night, which is insane. The Detroit, game, the Detroit Takeover Tour game broke the U.S. attendance record. They welcomed 1 million fans since the start of the league. And Amy Shear, who's the PWHL Senior VP of Business Operations, she was at the game last night and she said that this league's growth is just successful beyond her wildest dreams, and that a sold out crowd at Little Caesars Arena is a pinch me moment that she, along with the athletes, just have had the opportunity to experience, and it's a really, really incredible thing to witness. I mean, I get chills pretty much talking about this whole thing all the time. It's growing at a rapid pace, and I think that's also the millionth fan is just the tip of the iceberg where accomplishments are concerned for this league, right? So the BWHL has expanded its reach, media coverage is increasing, more people are paying attention to women's hockey than ever before. And Detroit is a huge market for potential expansion. We know the PWHL is 100% going to expand next year. So it's really exciting, to be a part of this historic time for the sport and for women in sports in general, and to just watch the league continue to carve out its space in the professional sports world is just absolutely incredible. So
Avery Mendillo, hockey expert, can't thank you enough for coming on today. Keep up the great work.
awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So much fun.
Our pleasure.